Eric, good evening.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you well. Am I audible, Eric, for you?
It's a little choppy, but I can hear you.
Okay. Let me try to fix it up. Eric, I'm seeing that Steve should be a bit 30 minutes running late.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Steve is running a little late, so he'll be 30 minutes late. He's getting to the hotel and he will join with us.
Okay.
So how's your evening? What's happening?
Well, it was
All good?
I get a chance to do the work breakdown structure because today was a release day, so
Oh, okay. Thursday.
I was a little tied up during my work day, so I had not had a chance to get started on that.
Got you. Okay. By the way, it's a Valentine's Day. That's being a release day for you.
Yeah, I had to make sure I got my wife and my little one some stuff.
Okay. So your sprint goes like this, right? It will be like Wednesday to Thursday. That's how the sprint for you.
Yeah, usually they start on Wednesday and then run for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and on that Friday, we have code freeze, and then the following Monday and Tuesday are QA testing days, and then depending on how the build goes through testing, we just have a release on Wednesday night. But sometimes it does get pushed. You know, sometimes there are errors found or critical pieces of software that don't retain the functionality that they need for the end user. So
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, somewhat like that. I too have the project at same timeline. Could be, yeah. The code freeze will happen on Friday. So yeah, kind of tight timeline. Sometimes it's getting very tightly packed. As you may not able to really think of what's happening. Before you do it, a week will be over. So the next iteration will be ready there. Okay, that's how the life is. Great. So what we'll do is Eric will start on. So let Steve join in another 30 minutes. So we'll keep getting into the system.
okay.
Yeah. Okay. So what we did is I'm just going to recall as I do on every day morning or evening. What I'm going to do is we're going to show you the process sheet, the 47 process sheet, to get a good feel of what we're going to learn or what we are learning currently. Okay, by the way, we are in the fourth session for our learning process. Wait, fourth, that should be fifth. Yeah, it's a fifth session, I believe. Yeah, it's in fifth session. So we have made a good journey now so far. When I may say journey, we understood the PMP basics and the project management or a project manager's roles and some of the basic idea for processes and tools and techniques. Then what we are doing currently now, currently we are doing something like, currently we are getting into each processes. When I say each processes, we have good amount of knowledge areas. So we have learned the stakeholder management. We have learned communication management. We have learned on scope management, right? So after I did all these three, we also learned a schedule management, which is going to talk about how the schedule of the project decided. So what we have did here is we have learned four knowledge areas. That is of stakeholder, communication, scope, and schedule. And today we're going to focus on one more important one, which is called cost management. And time permits, we're going to get into quality management. Right, that's the idea. However, I feel today the cost will consume a good amount of time. Now, what all is important in project management is, I'll tell everything is important. However, it is, we should know there's something called five process groups, and we will have 10 knowledge areas. If when we are a manager, we should be, when you're a leader, you should be able to know that a project will revolve around this five process groups and 10 knowledge areas. And when we say revolve around, we will tell that the scope of the project, schedule of the project, cost of the project. This is called triple constraints. And three more constraints are resources, quality, and risk. So totally we have six constraints. Apart from constraints, we have communication, procurement, stakeholder. These three knowledge areas come over. So if you accumulate all, it will become nine knowledge areas. So after learning nine knowledge areas, we have a very important one which is called as integration management. I was giving an example that a music orchestra is happening, you will have a conductor. And this conductor is the person who is going to control the overall flow of the particular music, a symphony. The same way in a project, we have integration management, which is going to control, which is going to bring everything together of this nine processes or nine knowledge areas. Now, saying that we understood on the left what is the importance, on the right what is the importance, right? Once we understood this, it's going to be of 49 processes. Also, let's keep saying again, there is something called develop project charter where we have a high level information and then it is given to the team and team does the work. After team completes the work, I mean the team makes a plan and gives to the work and work goes to quality and your quality department verify it and they say it's a verified deliverables. It goes to validate scope. In validate scope, the customer will check it. It's called UAT, user acceptance testing, after which the project get closed or the phase get closed. So this is the general flow we utilize. Now what we do? We're going to see the cost management. So far, we have learned something called scope, schedule, which are the two constraints in the triple constraints triangle. So when we see cost management, we have to understand what are the importance of the costing and how we are going to control it. It's very important. Before getting there, what I'll do is, as you are not able to get into today on this, but still we'll take a look of what it is. By the way, is my audio getting better, Eric?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I mean, is it audible? It's so too much bad.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a little choppy, but I can still hear you.
Okay. I mean, chopped in the sense it's every few seconds is getting down. It's dropping frequently. What I do?
It's not dropping, it's just not 100% solid.
Okay, wait, I will try changing to some other thing. Just a minute, I'm changing headsets. I hope this time it's better.
Yeah, that's a lot better.
Yeah, okay. Sometimes traditional headsets work well.
You know,
Okay.
I have the same problem that we want to use the Bluetooth and the wireless, and right now, for whatever reason, Skype and my computer and my headset don't get along. So the only way it works is if I use a wired headset.
Okay, yeah, I have my fancy Sony wireless or Bluetooth headsets. So I tried with that and it is not going well. So I'm with a wired headset earphone, the usual phone which you use for the cell phones. That's better now. You're right. It's okay. Fine. I came to this page, Eric, just to show that what is the plan here. See, this is a charter, project charter. And we have a project of something called bullet train, and the plan is between New York to California, and the distance going to be 2,800 miles, and the budget is 1 billion. So why I came to this page is to show that the budget will come at a very high level. They'll talk about 1 billion here. When they saw 1 billion, it is a very high level estimation, and this estimation is also called as uh, wrong. That is rough order of magnitude. They call it as a rough order of magnitude. When it's a rough order of magnitude, it can vary between minus 75 or minus 50 to 75%. The variation will be very high. When I say variation will be high, they give you estimation at a very high level. And this rough order of magnitude is one of the estimation which we discussed earlier, which is a analogous estimation, or it can be parametric estimation. If you remember it well, that previous session we talked about certain types of estimation. In that, analogous and parametric estimation will fall under a rough order of magnitude estimation. It is wrong. Why I'm insisting the point here is the cost what we see here as 1 billion could be at a very high level estimation they made when the project yet to begin, because the requirement has come at a higher level and they decided, okay, it could be 1 billion USD based on certain parameters. And now that may not be the final budget which you are going to do and start working. It's going to be different, because here on, as a manager, we will go deep inside the project and understand what are the requirements, and then understand what are the customers' expectations, and we start doing the estimation. Either it can be close to 1 billion or it can be more than 1 billion. Now, that estimation is what we are going to do now. But however it is, for the knowledge purpose, I can tell you that this estimation comes from, could be that as a team, we call them as a sales team, right? It will be, they get the project from the market. After they get the project from the market, they pass it to the managers, right? They pass to the managers or the CEO of the team company, the CEO of the company or the director of the company. The sales team will give a number of ideas to the company, telling that, hey, we have a demand for project A, project B, project C. The CEO of the company will choose among three ideas coming up, and one of the idea could become a charter like this, what we see here. Now, the moment you get the charter, how it work like is it's something like they would have already decided what will be the final selling price of this. When I say selling price, if I'm going to say this sales team decided that when this product comes to the market, when the bullet train is getting ready, it's going to give them 2 billion as a revenue, or 2 billion as a benefit for the government when the public starts using the train, right? That will be decided. This is the value which is the market value. Now, after this market value, now actual cost which incur for developing the project will be decided for 1 billion. I'm reiterating here. The sales team would have got the idea from the market. I'll say market is here. So you have a market here, or it could be public, or it could be a customer or market.
from where they get this idea to do the work, and from that comes to sales team, and sales team take it as an idea to the CEO of the company or director of the company or portfolio manager of the company. They decide, yes, let's take this project. When they decide to take this project, already there is an idea for what price or what cost or what revenue they're going to sell it out in the market. It could be 2 billion. But when it comes to the team, it will be costing 1 billion to make it. This is a making cost and this could be selling cost. We may not involve in this selling part when we are in a project execution. When we are in a portfolio manager level or director level, we may involve in making as well selling. But here in PMP perspective, we focus more on the making part. So we might involve how much you're going to sell it. We may not involve the profit sharing of what's going to happen. So what's happening is this 2 billion is being planned by some team, and then later they give to us for 1 billion to make it happen. So when we make the real cost estimation, either we can come closer to 1 billion or we can go beyond that. So if we go beyond that also, they will do little buffering. They will go 1.2 billion or 1.1 billion. Not too much. They have little variation. They accept little variation. So that this idea of cost management going to happen. So after we plan the costing factor, we watch out, are we running our project within this 1 billion or going beyond that? If it is going beyond that, we'll try to bring it back on the track. So that is what costing factor is going to do. Eric, you're able to get some basics, what we are talking about in the cost factor.
Can you repeat the last part?
You are able to get some idea of how the costing work in PMP?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it's a, it's like with anything else.
Yeah.
If this cost will be $1 billion, but I don't think that the budget that would be set aside for this would be $1 billion. So now you got to figure out how to make the budget that they give you into the cost that they want it to be.
Perfect. Even I'll tell you your project, what you're doing, your cost of making is different. When they're going to sell this product, what you make, the rate will be slightly different, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's how it will be. See, they charge an hourly price for what you're doing the work, and it may come for say $10 million. But actually, they sell this web application or mobile application, could be more than that. So they get a revenue of something higher than that. But we may not involve in that part. Our part is on the part of making this project happen. So we will play within the budget what is being allocated or what has been given an idea to us in a charter. So end goal here is something like this. We have a charter, and this is called project charter. And this project charter will have definition description in a higher level. When I say high level, they talk about when they want it, what is the cost of it, what is the description. They even give the scope in a higher level, and they give the date. Date is very important when it's going to be completed. These are some of the basic ingredients of a charter. Now saying that, so now we'll get inside. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get into the R information. Okay, I'm trying to set the track. Now we'll get into the system to start getting to the costing factor. Okay, we have to get to the cost management, and here is the cost management. Cost management. So as I used to say in every knowledge area, we have one slide specific for agile. What do you mean by agile here? As the project is getting volatile and keep changing on and moving on, we may not need to estimate everything at a first shot. We do very lightweight estimation, and we keep progressing further deep inside. We will do more depth estimation. There were days where they estimate everything at a first shot. Even though the requirement is not very clear, they make a full estimation of it and start the work. And when we get to the closure or completion of the project, they understand that the budget is not sufficient. They will further ask more budget, where the customer may not feel good or the project may not happen as we think. Now with the agile trend, it is something like they take it to a small chunk of work, complete it, and start moving next stage. So then and there, the customer too get the feedback. The customer too know that how much they're spending on it. Rather giving us money at one shot, it's going to be split it up, and they do know the value of the money which is coming out. So in agile, it is something like moving a small chunk at a time. At the same time, it has a more visibility to the customer. So that is all about the agile factors. So in project cost management, we're going to estimate the cost. We're going to have the budget of the cost, I mean, total project, and we're going to control it. And this is a very crucial area of a PMP, where controlling factor, because, and this is a place where we determine how we are performing in the project, because money relates to time. So when you go to cost control, we'll also talk about how this particular costing factor has impact on the project progress based on the timeline, and we'll start adjusting it if something's not going really well. So saying that, that's going to happen. Now let's move on. Okay, how we are going to do the costing factors, and this screen is going to help us. If you remember well, a couple of sessions back, we created a WBS, that is work breakdown structure. We took a work and divided into pieces. Even I was giving a task or assignment for yesterday, that is on take the bullet train project and put into WBS. You divide into pieces, which is doable by the team. And when we do that, it is called as work package. Okay, as per the screen, you can see that it's a work package which is going to have a module, have a set of activities to say that it's going to move forward to the completion of the project. Now, each work package will have set of activities. Activity 1, Activity 2, Activity 3. I was quoting an example. If it is a mobile app project, the mobile app project will be WBS into, you have to create a screen for the mobile app. You have to make test cases for it. You have to make the specific database for it. You have to make specific cloud environment for it. This can be work packages. When you make a screen, in the screen you have multiple pages. One page will talk of open landing page, could be of search engine page, could be of reporting page, could be of logout page. So you divide into pieces, and that pieces will be called as activities. So activities could be of a level where you can align or assign to a particular resource or set of resources, which collectively will become a work package. So saying that, why I'm explaining this point is, we should understand that when we do the estimation, we have to do three things in estimation. What are the three things is, the estimation is going to be happen for activity at three factors, 1 and 2 and 3. And this is all going to happen on, one will be of other day we did on schedule. That is how much of time it will take to complete this activity. And next is going to be of cost, how much of cost it will charge. Other one is of resource. So I'll map it now. So every activity, what will happen is, every activity you have to make estimation of timeline, estimation of cost, estimation of resource. So now all these three things should be done for an activity. Collectively, this will help us to understand the project performance. So we cannot do the whole estimation for the whole project at a chunk. So what we do is we make it as a package, we make it as an activity. From the activity, we'll make these three estimations of schedule, cost, and resource. When I say resource, it will be of a human resource as well material. When I say the cost, it will talk about how much for this activity it will charge me. If it is a particular web page design, that web page design will be done by two resources in 40 hours timeline. So 40 hours into the resource into the number of dollars, it's going to give you the cost. If it is of a bridge construction, an activity can be one of the pillar for the bridge. So that pillar will take 2 weeks to complete, and it needs a good amount of cements, it needs a good amount of steel, it needs good amount of human labor, and that's going to be the cost. And the time which will take for this particular pillar is could be of 4 weeks of timeline. That's going to be of schedule. Now, these three are interrelated. When I say interrelated, in the sense you should know how much time it will take complete, then only you can do the cost factor for it, because the time makes the money. The month of January, if you do a construction work and the labor availability price tag is different, whereas you do the month of November and you do the work on that timeline, the cost factor for the labor or human effort, or it could be material, be different. And also resource talks about the material available in the market, the demand of the material, the cements or the steel availability, the price tag is different in particular month or particular season, or in a different month or season, the price tag will be different. So now what's the goal here? As a manager, we are having the visibility of what all activities should be done in a project, and that activity, how much it's going to charge us or how much of time it's going to take on. I will tell this activity is nothing but a user story which we write in an agile way. In agile, we take one particular story and which explains everything in detail, right? Or a work package can be called as an epic. By the way, Eric, if I'm not wrong, are you using epic features as a concepts in your project?
Not in the traditional, not in the traditional sense. Not in the sense that you described here, but in a very similar sense.
Okay, got you. Okay, so this is the process which being followed here in PMP, which can be used for any methodology. It doesn't mean agile, it doesn't mean traditionally. Where you have a work package and the work package can be split into activity. I see it something like this. In agile, a work package is called as features, and activity can be called as a user story behind that, and you can call it a subtask also in Jira. End of day, which is estimatable. You should be able to estimate it. That's very important. You cannot estimate at a very higher level. As you go down inside, you can estimate really well. So that's what happening here. Now, when we say estimation, the estimation helps you to find these three factors. But how to do the estimation is, we use a methodology. I will recall it, what I'm going to. So we had certain methodology like parametric estimation. Then we had 3-point estimation. Then we had bottom-up estimation. If you remember from our last session, what happened is we have these estimations. Now, each activity can run through this estimation. How to run through this estimation? So, the activity can be done with analogous estimation, parametric, 3-point estimation, bottom-up estimation. Now, if we don't have much clarity on this particular activity requirement, I will go with analogous or parametric estimation, which is going to pull the historical record of such activity which happened before in the project, so that I don't need to strain much. I'll take the historical record, but the accuracy level will be a bit lesser. And if the activity has a little more information, or it is not much detail on historical records, so I'll go with the one estimation which is called as 3-point estimation. If you remember the formula, by any chance you remember the formula, Eric, for 3-point estimation?
For 3-point estimation, I know we went over it yesterday.
Yeah, by any chance you recall it? I know it's a tough job.
Maybe if you give me the first piece, I can get the other two.
Yeah, optimistic.
Oh, optimistic, pessimistic, and most likely occurrence.
Wow. You're a rocket. You remember it well. You're able to recall it. That's good. That's really good. You're right. So we have a formula called like this: optimistic, pessimistic, and most likely, right? And this is called triangle distribution. We have one other formula which talks about optimistic plus 4 into most likely plus pessimistic divided by 6. So there are two variety of formulas here. This is called triangular distribution and this is called as weighted average because we give weightage for most likely. This is a 3-point estimation. When we don't have much of historical data, we will use this estimation. So we consider three type of people in the room. One person says it should be optimistic, one person says it's pessimistic, and one person stands in center. It can be done this way. And I'm seeing in many of the agile projects designed in this way also. They give three estimations and take one out of that. And now why am I explaining here? I'm explaining here because any activity will run through these kind of estimations, analogous, parametric, 3-point, and bottom up. Bottom up estimation is the lowest level where you go ground level and understand really what is the cost or what is the schedule or what is the resource needed on. When I say cost schedule, this three will be calculated at the lowest level. When you do that, it is going to consume time, it's going to consume energy, which is a bit expensive, but the accuracy level will be very high. That we have to admit. Other three accuracy level will be slightly lesser, whereas the bottom up is accuracy level is good. Now, as a manager, you are liable to tell the team what kind of estimation they can do based on the information availability. You will have the experts in the market sit with you, work on. You have the domain experts. You will have your team leads, your architects, and you have the customer front people. All will come over. Why I'm spending this time in this page is to make you understand that the WBS is divided into work packages, and work packages further divided into activities. When we get the activity level, we need to find out three factors called schedule, cost, and resource. When we do that, and that we do through these four variety of estimations, that is analogous, parametric, 3-point estimation, and bottom-up estimation. Right. So that makes the system a bit clear. Is this understandable, Eric? Eric, you got the points, isn't it? Can I move to next one? Okay, I believe you stepped out.
Yes, you can. I'm sorry about that. I was talking while it was muted.
Okay. So what's your daughter doing? She had her dinner, ready to sleep? Oh, she's
Well,
playing.
because it's Valentine's Day, my wife thought it would be a good idea to give her a chocolate pop that we bought for her, and now
Oh,
she's enjoying the benefits of sugar.
okay, that's sweet. That's sweet. I feel I'm killing your evening. Oh, I'm sorry about it.
Don't
Yeah.
worry, it's for them. It's for both of them that I'm doing this. So
Okay. You're learning something. They are feeling good on that. Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay, we'll keep going. Okay, I'm expecting Steve to join in some time, so we'll keep moving on. So, what's the plan here is we're going to start the cost management. There is going to be something called plan cost management, which is going to talk about how. Whenever we see the word plan, it is the how the project cost will be estimated, budgeted, and managed and monitored will be recorded. Why we do this? We have to keep our stakeholders informed that in this project, this is how the plan costing will happen. In a sense, we will do the estimation, budget, and manage it. So this is written on the cost management plan. So the cost management plan is a point of contact for the stakeholders to see what and how it's going to work. So for that, we take a charter, project charter, which I showed a bullet train to you, which is a 1 billion USD. And it'll have a high level information and it has a schedule plan. Why we have a schedule plan here is because the schedule and cost go hand in hand. Only when I know when the work is going to happen and how the scheduling is going to happen, that will help me to decide on the cost factors. So we take that as an input and then we move to, we have experts in the market, we take the meetings, some analysis will happen and you come out to the cost management plan. So in the cost management plan, you're going to talk about the factor of how we are going to estimate it, how we are going to determine it, and how we are going to control the cost. That will be written down. When I say how, there is one more parameter that I write it out here called as earned value management, which is also called as EVM. It is one of the important way how we are going to control the cost. This talks about how controlled cost will happen. Um, of course, there are a lot of variety of methodology in the market to do the calculation of controlling the cost. However, it is when you are following the PMP methodology, you can tell that we're going to use earned value management, which your sponsors or stakeholders should also agree. So this is what we're going to spend good time today. I'll show that going forward. For now, to understand that in cost management plan, we'll have the plan how we are going to do the factors of determining and also controlling the cost. Now we're going to do the estimation. As I spent a little time on estimation, how it's going to work, I'll tell what it is. When I say what it is, you will have something called, you're going to make a develop an approximation. If you see here, developing an approximation. The word approximation is important. In costing, it is something like you cannot give 100% perfect calculation because the requirement be keep fluctuating. The market trend is getting fluctuating. There could be resource fluctuation. There are a lot of constraints around us. We have risk constraints and we have resource constraints. Considering all this factor, the value what you're going to give could be almost an approximation of the value. You'll say approximation of a range within which the budget will fall. So let's see what is the range you're going to set it down and move on. Right. I was talking about cost management plan. The plan has how we are going to do the factors. When I say how, we even write what methodology will follow for the estimation. And we take the scope baseline. The scope baseline is the one which has a 3 parameters. If we remember it and recall it, we have 3 parameters: WBS, it will have WBS, dictionary, it will have scope statement. And now these 3 parameters fall inside the scope baseline. And why we need this? Because under WBS, you have the details of activities. And each WBS will have a dictionary. And scope statement will have acceptance criteria and exclusions. So we should know clearly what we are going to estimate. That I can get from the scope baseline. And there may be some project schedule also. If you remember the last session, we worked on the scheduling factor where it will talk about each activity timing, when it will be done. So that will be inside the schedule, project schedule. Now, you know what are the work to be done. You know when you have to do it because the when is very important. So that based on the when it's going to be done, the costing will change. And you also know the resource requirements. This I'll talk in the next chapter. For now, understand resource requirement means it's a need of human as well material resources, how much we need. If I reiterate it here, you know what is the work, you know what is the time you're going to do, you may know how much of resource needed. When you know all these 3 factors, it is time to make estimation of the costing. So as I showed in a couple of slides back, we're going to have 4 ways of estimation, that is analogous and parametric, which primarily talks about historical. Right? It'll have a historical information here. Through historical data, you make estimation. That is the first 2 one. That is the analogous and parametric estimation. When you don't have much of historical information, you go for 3-point estimation, which is going to be optimistic, pessimistic, most likely formula. And once all done, and if you really have good amount of information and you feel that we can take it to the lowest level of calculation, that's going to be a bottom-up estimation. When we do this, we also have something called reserve analysis and cost quality. I will talk about it a bit later. For now, understand we have all these ingredients of requirement, timeline, and resource available. And with that, you make an estimation, and that will become a cost estimates for you. And it will also give the basis of estimates. I have to tell them on what basis I'm saying is $100. On what basis I'm saying that the painting of this particular pillar will charge me $250. I have to be very specific on that. It is because there is a chance your stakeholders would like to understand how the calculation came up. And also for the team, it is a good reference in future of the costing factor. Saying that, I have to talk a little bit on the reserve analysis. When you consider the costing of how much of time and work money will charge, there is something called reserve. When I say reserve, there are two types of reserve are there. One is contingency reserve. Other one is management reserve. If you heard about it, the contingency reserve talks about known risk, right? The known risk will fall under contingency reserve, and unknown risk will fall under management reserve. I'll explain it more. When I say reserve factors here, every project will have some buffer of costing. They consider some of the risk which could happen in the project, which could charge them extra money. So these are the, see, when I say scoping here, you know WBS. Under WBS, you know what are work going to be there. For the work, you estimated how much of charge is going to be. Now beyond the work, there is a chance of risk happening. When the pillar construction is happening for a bridge, there is a good chance the pillar may get collapsed, or there could be heavy rain on the particular season, which could delay the work for 3 weeks. But whatever it happens, there could be some risk behind that. If you know the risk really well, and if you can pronounce the risk really well, that will become a known risk. And when you know the risk, you'll put in a risk register. We prepare something called risk register. And risk register will have risk 1. You'll write some factor here. You have risk 2. You'll have rain. Risk 3. Labor unavailable. Now, each risk against that you have to allocate some dollar value. Right? If rain is going to come, it may spoil the work for 10 days, or the paint of the pillar may peel off, and that could be of again another $20. Right? In our software industry, it could be of a risk where the server is unavailable, or server going down, AWS down. So what will happen? We will lose some good amount of money. We have to get a server instance spinned up immediately. Now, these are the risks which you can pronounce it really well. And when you pronounce this risk, and that becomes a known risk. Whenever you can say some risk and you can put a dollar for it, it's called known risk. And that will fall under contingency reserve. And this money also counts inside your project cost. When we say known risk, there is something called unknown risk. When you can write a risk like rain, labor, AWS server going down, these are known risks. There's some unknown risk. We can't even predict it. We can't even pronounce it. It happens on the spot. When I say on the spot, we would have thought something and we didn't expect it at all. Something unexpectedly happens there. A natural disaster of earthquake coming up, and your data center server is going down totally, or it could be of there is a problem or a civil war or war happening between the countries. Something's blocking your system or can't do anything more. This is unknown. You can't predict it. Now, when this unknown scenario happens, where you cannot decide what is the cost of it, and the sponsor of the project may not bear this cost. And now what will happen is this cost will go to the management reserve. The management is a team which is actually running the project. The company which is running your project will bear the cost. And that cost will be predetermined, saying that overall budget of the project, we will take 10%, we will pay it. 10% of the project we will pay for the management reserve. Right? They will pay 10% will be of management reserve. And this is not specified 10%. I'm just putting a number here. It could be 3%, 2%. This is taken care by the management team. When I say management team, the team which, or the company which is the performing organization of the project. Right, this is how it works out. I'll reiterate what I'm explaining in the screen. We are in a screen called estimate cost, where we are trying to estimate how much it's going to charge up for doing the work. And we will have the list of activities for the project. Some activities will have a clear description, some may not have. However it is, we'll make estimation, because in the earlier stage of a project charter, we had a high level estimation of the project. Now we have to find out how much it will happen really, as we know the requirement bit clearer now. Now what we do, we take the scope baseline. In scope baseline, you have WBS dictionary statement. That is what requirement is needed on. And WBS will have the activities split it up. Now we take that. We also take each activity, we put a timeline. It is called as project schedule. Only when we know which activity is going to happen, which month and which timeline, the costing can be much more clearer. And also we take the resource requirements. The resource we talk about the requirement of, it could be human as well material. After knowing this, we go to estimation. So estimation is going to happen for each activity. So some activities which is not clear in the requirement, we go to historical record, that is called analogous or parametric estimation. We do based on that. Of course, the accuracy level will be lesser. When we know something about the requirement, but not historical data are available, then we go for bottom 3-point estimation. That is a formula, optimistic plus most likely plus pessimistic divided by 3. And in case you have good amount of requirement and you want to go to ground level and make analysis, that's called as bottom-up estimation, right? And after doing this estimation, you get some clarity of how much it's going to charge up. When I'm explaining that, I was trying to explain you something called reserve analysis. That is, for any project, we'll have a little reserve, telling that how much a risk factor we have, for which we have to allocate certain fund. So in reserve, we have two branches, which is called as contingency reserve and which is called as again management reserve. Two reserves are there. Now, what is contingency reserve? Contingency reserve, also known as known risk. That is, you know a particular set of risk can happen in the project. For that set of risk, we allocate certain dollar value for it, and that falls under risk register. And when you can pronounce a risk, it's called known risk. When you don't know what kind of risk can happen, unpredictability, that is unknown risk, for which the organization, the performing organization, will allocate some fund. That could be a percentage of the project. It could be 5%, 3%, 10%. So they allocate fund for it. Now, this contingency reserve will be given by the sponsor who is giving the money for the project. The management reserve will be given by the company which is running the project. Right? This is how it goes. The lesser with unknown risk, we are safer. If we have more unknown risk happening in the project, the company will not gain anything out of it. It's going to be very risky for them. I'll talk about elaborately this when we go for risk management. For now, let's understand there is a reserve process here and the cost of quality. Cost of quality will talk about how much you're going to spend for the quality in the sense of testing, in the sense of crash testing, in the sense of utilizing and purchasing any tools, in the sense of making the team member trained up to the product. Those are the money spent for the cost of quality. When you do all these factors, that's going to be add up called as cost estimates and basis of estimates, right? I believe I gave a little explanation here about, Eric, is it comfortable learning the cost estimates screen, what we did now here?
I mean, it's kind of like yesterday with a lot of the formulas. I think the first run through is good, but I'm definitely gonna need to refer back to the recordings and the stuff like this. I get you're doing a real good job at explaining it, but I think for it to actually sink in and for me to be able to apply it and where I need to, I'll have to go over it a few more times at least.
Sure, you can. You can tell me right away if anything I can explain you here. I'm really happy to explain you.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay, yeah, we'll keep moving on. You can stop me if you're not getting it. I can help you again. Okay, getting back, there is something called the project schedule, which I showed in a previous screen. I will show back. Here we have something called project schedule. Now, I put a slide to explain why we need a project schedule, because the timing of the project decides the cost of it. When I buy some product in the month of January, the rate is different. Whereas I buy the same product at the time of rainy season or monsoon, it's going to be something different. So we should know the importance of project schedule when we do the work. So based on the schedule, the work will, the cost will be slightly differing on. So that's why the cost schedule factor is very important. I'll
And
talk about that.
doesn't it also seem to reason that if that you need the schedule, because if the customer or whoever it is wants the project to be completed in a much shorter schedule, their cost is
Yes,
going to be
of
and their
course,
cost.
of course, you're absolutely right. Yeah, scheduling is purely dependent on the timing factor, and what you said is absolutely right. If customer is expecting something being done early in the time rather than what we thought, the price will shoot up. But at the same time, the customer should also agree that if they want early, the price will go higher, and they should be ready enough to balance it. Right, you're right, absolutely.
That's what the constant struggle is, right? The customer
Yeah,
wants it sooner, doesn't want to pay for it sooner, so they want it as soon as they can pay for it.
yeah. So that's why we give the estimation with the buffering. We consider here. I was talking about reserves. So reserve could be of some of the risk can happen on the project. And even yesterday we are talking about some of the compression techniques. If you remember it, we thought about crashing, where we add more
Yeah.
resources. When you add more resources, the cost will go higher. So that's again a problem. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a problem. There is no one line solution for it. It's always going to be a problem. But only when there is a problem, there is a need of a manager like you or me to be there. And they put the managers and leaders specifically for that purpose to handle such scenarios. Yeah, of course, you got it. You got the right point. Yeah. And I was talking about estimations. In estimations, we have three varieties. One is going off ROM. ROM is a rough order of magnitude. If you can see in the screen, you will get an idea. The accuracy level will be something like this. It will fall between minus 25 to plus 75%. I was showing you the charter where 1 billion USD is for a bullet train project. That 1 billion will have a variation of minus 25% to plus 75%, the deviation. And this is called ROM. And this we do when the requirement is not fully clear. When the requirement is very high level, we'll go for ROM estimation. Now, little more clarity on the requirement starts coming up in the beginning of the stage, that is in the planning stage. Then we'll go for budgetary estimation. When you do budgetary estimation, it will fall between minus 10 to 25%. So that's the range of estimation that happens through. And after that, we go for the definitive estimate. This happens when you are very close to the work. In a sense, we have the clarity and the requirement very clearly mentioned. If that's the case, we can go with the estimation, which is called definitive estimate, which is going to be between minus 5 to 10%. Again, this is the very closest to calculation, but still you can't go 100%. There is no 100% calculation in costing or scheduling because always there will be fluctuation. However it is, you can go very close, which is minus 5 to 10%. If you say $100, it will have the minus 5 to 10% of variation. So this is types of cost, types of estimations, and it's a range between. So that's one of the important things we have to understand when you do the estimation part. And I put one more slide to explain that when we will have these three estimations. When we see here, when the requirement is not very clear and it is at the beginning of the project, we can go with order of magnitude. That is very rough order of magnitude. As we progress further, when the requirement is a little more clear, we can go to budgetary estimation. When the information is very much complete, that is, you got the clarity of the requirement to the deep, then you go with definitive estimation. So point is, you have more clarity on the work, you can get definitive, but still it is something iterative way. You cannot tell that you will get 100% of the project at a one shot. You will get some chunk of work, you get the clarity, and you'll complete it. So that's how it keep moving on. Right. I believe I spoke about these estimations: analogous, parametric, bottom up, and 3-point. So let me not put the time more here, as I explained earlier on. There is the next stage called determining the budget. So I'll go back to the screen to give clarity where I am, what I'm doing here. So what I'm doing here is I'm the cost management. In the cost management, you have something called plan cost. We did that. Then we do the estimation of cost, which we played now, where we had analogous parametric estimations. Now we are doing determined budget. So determined budget going to talk about how much the costing going to happen for all the activities. See, in estimate activity, you made estimation for each activity. Now in determine, you have to put everything together in a packet and tell that how much the overall cost for the project, which you have to communicate to the stakeholders. And in turn, that will be called as cost baseline. So we're going to work it out. Let me show that part. So it's going to be here. So determined budget is a process of aggregating, and this is a very important sentence, aggregating. You're going to aggregate the estimated cost of individual activities. It's very much evident, clear sentence here. Aggregating the estimated cost of individual activities. You put for individual activities, say in your project you have 10 packages. Each package have 10 activities. So it's become 100 activities at overall. So those 100 activities you will put together and you make an aggregation. Why we have to do that? So that you get a authorized cost baseline. You get a baseline. The word baseline here PMP uses, it's an authorized between the team and the key stakeholders to tell that this is what we are going to charge. This is what going to be cost for the overall project. But doesn't mean that it won't change. It will change, but it will not change too much. It should be very closer plus or minus percentage. So that happens in determined budget. Now in determined budget, you're going to take certain parameters. Out of that, few important parameters are the cost estimate is an important parameter. From where we got this cost estimate? We got it from the previous process. In previous process, we got the estimate of each particular activity, how much it's going to charge. And also we have to have the project schedule. The project schedule will be of the timeline when we are going to do this work. And we have the basis of estimates, how much we charging going to be charged. Now we have this information with us. We have the business case. We have some of the agreements we signed with the third parties, because your work, it doesn't mean that everything will be done by you. What do you mean by agreement here? So let's say your project is of 100%. Let's say in that you will have at least 20% going to vendor, right? And that the 20% you have to pay the cost to them. You have to pay some dollar to them, right, to do the work. So that is going to be an agreement. Agreement is a contract between you and the company or organization which is going to do the part of your work. So that will fall under agreement. So you know how much for each activity, you know when it's to be done, you know the business case behind that, you know whom going to do for you the 20% of the vendoring part, and also you look at the enterprise factors and organizational factors around you. Doing that, you're going to do the cost aggregation. Aggregation means it's accumulating or putting together of how much it's going to come up, aggregate it. And when you do that, you do a little more on funding limit reconciliation. It is something like reconciling between the what we thought and what we are doing now. There could be customer ask, this is a budget which I can sponsor for. So you have to watch out, are we within that expectation of the customer? If not, you have to bring that to the expectation. That will happen in funding limit reconciliation. Now, saying that, we're going to have the cost aggregation now, and that will help us to get the cost baseline. Once you achieve the cost baseline, what's happening is you will achieve 3 baselines for the day. One is on scope baseline, then is on schedule baseline, and then it's going, now you're going to achieve cost baseline. Baseline means authorized value. Authorized means what? It is a signed deal between us and the key stakeholders of the project. Now, these 3 baselines are also called as triple constraints. It will be called as constraints. So it will be called as triple constraints. So we have to play within this particular constraints. It means that we may have changes coming to these 3 items, but still we may not accept too much of drastic changes. Changes can be at a minimal level or could be at an acceptable level. Now saying that now we're going to have a cost baseline aggregation. Let's see how the aggregation happens. Now you have the estimates, you have the schedule, you have the agreement. Let me show you how the aggregation happens. Okay, this is a picture talks about cost aggregation. I go from the bottommost level, that's an activity level. You took an activity of mobile application page design. You took an activity of test case writing for an application. We took an activity of a pillar, rising up a pillar for a bridge construction. We took an activity of a painting the pillar as an action. So each one will charge some dollar value. And you see here, they have $25. This $25 can be of a human resource plus material, what we need. That's called resource management, and that's cost costing factors. Now, if you accumulate 4 or 5 activities here, that becomes a work package, right? So that becomes a work package. When you accumulate a set of work package, that becomes a control account, right? When you accumulate and put a control account together, that will become a project estimates. So I'm going from the bottom, that we have an activity list, after which you have a work packages estimated, and then you have a control accounts, and from there we have the estimates. End of day, we are putting everything together. It's like a card box. We collect 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and put into the box. We are doing that process here. It's a very straightforward information. But how do we got this $45? We got this dollars value based on the schedule, based on the resource, based on the costing estimation. How we did that, I'll tell you. It happened through based on schedule when you want it and resource. And we made the cost estimation based on this, right? That happened and you got this $45. Now that's also done through analogous parametric 3-point and bottom-up estimation. Now doing all this calculation, a slide before I was talking to you about contingency reserve. A contingency reserve is a known risk. It's called as risk, which we see from the risk register. So for which we allocate certain fund for it. And that becomes a cost baseline. And this will be the value which you communicate to the stakeholders. This will be communicated to your sponsor or key stakeholder. Now, this will be the value you communicate to them, right? And now you have an accumulation of how much it's going to charge. You put the reserve for it and you are going to put it a cost baseline. Now, this is the one which are going to use it for measurement purpose. When I say measurement, how the project is performing will be measured against this. Now, we have one more item above this cost baseline. What is that? And that is called management reserve, which is also called as unknown risk. And this will be paid by the management. Say it should be 5% of the project, or it could be 10% of the project. We don't know when this unknown risk will happen. See, when you know the risk, we know how much we need to charge for it. So we will charge against our sponsors, our stakeholders. But we don't know what the risk will happen. We can't charge them. So what we have to do, the management of the project has to take control of it. If there is a disaster, natural disaster happens, and which is not even predicted, that could be taken care by management reserve. They have to. But the next year, I will record that natural disaster in known risk or the next time. So what it means is, if you know something well, it's called known risk for which the fund can be allocated. When you don't know what it is, or it can happen anytime, that is called as unknown risk. And that the project sponsor may not take responsibility. That should be taken by the organization which is doing the project. And that will become a cost budget. And when we communicate to the stakeholders, you would communicate only the baseline. You may not communicate the cost budget because it is the value which it's for the company which is performing the project. Whereas this cost baseline is a key value which we are going to communicate to our stakeholders, and we are going to be on track of it. And that's cost aggregation. I think we're still missing Stephen. Oh yeah, he's missing a major chunk of the class. Let me see any message from him.
I mean, it's it's a good thing that these get recorded. You can
Oh yeah,
review it. He seems like
yeah,
a pretty sharp guy.
yeah. By the way, are you able to see the previous recordings?
Yeah, you just have to log in under the Gmail account that that Ismart created. Like you won't be
Okay,
able to see you won't be
okay.
able to see them under your
Mm-hmm.
personal account.
Okay, very good, very good. Yeah, soon you will get the details. I think that will going to help you. Even if you miss something, you can relook at the recordings. That is
Yeah,
going to help.
it's gonna be really helpful
Yeah,
because I plan on going back through them, several
yeah,
times.
yeah. You need it. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Anyway, what we'll do is we'll proceed on. It's almost an hour. I think we're missing with him. Okay. He said he's going to check into the hotel, so he should get a Wi-Fi and get connected.
Okay, great.
Let's proceed on. Okay. We're going to have something called cost management or funding limit requirements. In the previous slide, I talked about cost aggregation. So what it means is it's a overall cost of the project which we need. And that cost which I spoke there is what we have BAC here. BAC is nothing but budget at completion. Imagine we estimated the project budget, like I showed you in the previous slide, it was like aggregation of $1,355. They estimated it, the project will complete in $1,355, right? What do I do? I'll go back and come. If you see here, this is a budget as we thought. That's a cost baseline. This is an accumulation of how much of work we have to do from the bottommost and goes to highest level. Activity, package, control account, project estimates, and contingency reserve getting added. Then you have the baseline. Now, if you have the baseline, it is $1,355, and this is nothing but budget at completion. Over that, it is a management reserve that we may not show now. We will discuss that when the issue happens. If not, it's going to be budget at completion. So if you consider this as a time from January to till the date when the project is going to happen, or it's a project timeline. On the y-axis, you have cumulative values. Now what's happening is on the day one, the work should start something like this. I'm using a word should. Should means it's a planned value. We are planning, this is how the work should happen. It should flow this way. It will go iteration 1, iteration 2, iteration 3, iteration 4, iteration 5. Or you call it as a release. We use any word what you want, but end of day, the project should flow. At iteration 1, the project should complete this much of work. Iteration 2, this much of work. Iteration 3, this much of work. When come to iteration 5, it should be this much of work. When I say this much, it means it has some dollar value here. Right? It should have some dollar value here, and it will meet the dollar value. Let's say example here, dollar value going to be here if it is $200, right? $200 worth of work should be completed when we are reaching this range. In the month of or in the month of January or in the iteration 1, I should have completed $200 worth of work. That's a plan. When I say plan, as per planned value, when I reach this point, it should have completed this much of work. When I reach a particular point, I should complete this much of work. When I reach a point of May, it should complete here. When I reach iteration 5, I should complete this much of work. And this is how the calculation should be. Okay, this is should. I'm using the word should again. It is nothing but it's talking about, okay. I'm talking about the factor of planned value. So now, when we do the planned value, it may not happen as we think. There is a chance of the work going in a different direction. If you see here, you have something like the work could have started here and it is already a bit late, and they started, but the deliverables started happening a bit late and the money spent for it is going high. It should come and meet in this spot, but unfortunately what's happening? Unfortunately, it's getting this way. When I say this way, it's going beyond the limit what we thought, and it is exceeding it. If you see here, it started exceeding. There is always chances in the project that it may not happen within the budget what we think. Even some few minutes back, Eric, you said that customer will ask to deliver it early. At the same time, they're not ready to pay. Yeah, could be a scenario. Or the team is not working as we expected. We thought all the 8 resources in the sprint or iteration are very effective resource, but unfortunately only 2 or 3 will work really well. The rest 4 will be new to the team or may not work to the capacity what they can. So that will make your project go bad shape. So your team, you have 8 people, but the work happening is very less. It is not happening the way what we want. So what will happen? The money will keep going on. Even though they do less work, we can't give less salary. Salary will be given as it is. The money spent is as it is. Now it can shoot over than what you thought. You thought 1355, but it will go higher than that. So it may go up to here. It may go, let's say, it becomes $2,000, right? And that will be called as estimate at completion. We call as estimate at. I'll explain it more as we go closer to that. For now, understand that a budget, what we thought is budgeted completion. But if we can't do that and it is going above that, it is called as EAC, that is estimated completion. That will happen here. And as a project team manager, we'll be in a position to re-estimate the budget. We cannot say that we'll stick with this budget, we have to re-estimate it. That's estimated completion. So how it's going to happen in the sense, that's one part. The other part is on funding requirements. When you talk about funding requirements, we can't expect our sponsors to give fund when and then you need. They won't give on a daily basis. They'll give on some milestones. If you come to this particular point, they will release the fund. And this point, I'll tell you, say it is iteration 1, 2, 3. It's a third iteration. Only when you come to third iteration, they release some fund. When you come to fourth iteration, they release some fund. When you come to fifth iteration, they release some fund. So funding limit or funding requirements keep going based on the requirement needs which you set earlier on. So this all will be set earlier on in the project, telling when they will release a fund. So that's again, we talk about the funding factors. Now, what I do is I'll take you to the journey of learning the important factors, the control cost. Now, this is going to be a little tricky and interesting in the sense of the formula learning. Now, I'll tell you what it is. Control cost is a process of monitoring the status of the project. It's very important. We are going to monitor the status of the project. Very clearly, status of the project, not one activity, the whole project. Because we already planned collection of activities, how much it's going to charge. Now, the real work started happening. When the real work started happening, Sri started working in the project, Eric started working in the project, Steven started working in the project, and our salary being paid. We buyed some equipments, we buyed some softwares. Now it is going for a couple of weeks, months, timeline, the money started rolling out. Now, a car organization or a manager cannot just like that spend the money. The manager is responsible to keep a watch on what's happening. We thought something, we allocated some fund, I have got the money from the sponsor, now work started happening. We keep a watch, are we in the track? If not in the track, bring to the track, as simple. It's easy to say, but when you implement it, it is slightly going to be tricky. For that, they have a calculation system called as earned value management, right? That's what you're going to learn now. There is something called earned value management. How we do it? We take the cost baseline. Cost baseline I showed you as some value. For the example I showed here is, let's say $1,355.
Okay, this I showed to you. That will be the cost baseline. If you remember it well, 1355, I'll go back and show you what it is. If you see 1355, that is it's a cost baseline, a accumulated value of it. Don't worry about reserve now. We have to look at on the cost baseline alone. So that is the value which you're going to communicate to the stakeholders. And that baseline will be here. Along with that, how the project is performing. Along with that, the very important input is work performance data. If you recall it, work performance data is a actual work, what happened. Actual work, how much of work has been happening in the project, how much has been completed. When you know how much you're going to spend, when you know what's the work is happening, you start doing the variance. You compare it, what is planned, are we doing it? If things are going well, it's fine. And also you do the cost forecasting. We already did something in the previous session which is called as schedule forecasting. Schedule forecasting talks about when it will get completed. Cost forecasting will talk about how much we need more. It could be 1355 we thought, but it can lead to $2,000. Could be, or even it can come down. We need only 1,200 or 100, yeah, $1,200, yeah, could be something like this. So that forecast should be done. So based on what we thought, what's the work happening, and you do the variance of it and you calculate this amount. But how to calculate this amount? How do you know if only 2000 is needed? There is some methodology that's called as TCPI. They use it as two complete performance index. It's also short term called as TCPI. I'll explain it. It's called two complete performance index. You calculate it and tell that no, it's not 1355, it can be $2,000. So this is a calculation going to happen. Before I take you to this calculation, it's going to be a bit formula oriented. I would expect to take a break for you, right? Yeah, I'm expecting.
Yeah, I could use a break after this.
Okay, yeah, let's take a 10 minutes break now because I'm yet to see Steve because I'm going to show some formulas and calculations. What we'll do is we'll take a 10 minutes break. Meantime, I'll try to reach Steve's to see whether he's available. Right? Will that be good?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much.
I know you need it. Okay, take a break of 10 minutes.
I'm back.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, that's good. Hope the break made you a little better.
Yeah, a little bit. Cleared my head a
Yeah,
little bit.
you need it. Okay, I feel that Steve is stuck with some client meeting. Could be he's late. That's what the message I'm getting on. So we'll continue on. Let him, he will go through the video and learn the process. Right. Saying that, I'm getting to the control cost factor. So far, what I've did here is you have made a calculation how much you're going to need for the project execution. And we calculated that we found a cost baseline of $1,355 expected as per the previous slides. And when we do the controlling factor, we should understand what is the current trend happening so that only you can start the controlling. So current trend you will know through the work performance data, which talks about actual work completed or actual team effort happened is being calculated. And we do the variance analysis, and there is something called earned value analysis, EVA or EVM, which is going to explain us how to calculate it. And end of day, we're going to do the forecasting. So what we have currently, what is the forecast? And this is what we're going to happen here. And when we do this, it's going to help us to set a information. So work performance data talks about actual work, and work performance information will help to make decision. So it's a decision making. Okay, yeah, it helps to make decision. So this is what going to happen. So let's see some of the ways how to find out the variance. The variance calculation going to happen. I'm going to use some formulas. It's called as earned value management. It is again EVM, is a method of measure project performance against the project baselines. If you understand the term well, it talks about project project performance against project baseline. Baseline is $1,355 in our case, and performance is what we have done so far. And you're going to do the against that, the comparison going to happen. Let's see how this comparison works for us. Okay, here it goes. To do the comparison, we are going to start working out something called as planned value, earned value, actual cost. These three very important. What we planned, the authorized budget against the scheduled work. That is nothing but a planned value, how much you planned, how much actually we have worked so far, and how much you have spent for the work. Simple. So what you planned, what you earned, what you spent for that earning. For the work to be performed, work to be completed, we would have given some salary, we gave some check, we brought some material, and this all fall under actual cost. And BAC means budget at completion. This is what I put as a baseline. If you see here, we had a cost baseline. So that will become a stuff. And here we have something called EAC, estimate at completion. And this can become a cost forecast, right? So it's a cost baseline, it's a cost forecast, how much we need. That's called estimate at completion. Now there are two more area which is called as estimate to complete. That is from cost baseline till cost forecast. We're going to be some changes. I'll talk about it later point. For now, understand there is something called estimate to complete. There is something called variance at completion. Let's not get too much into it now. For now, first we talk about these factors: planned, earned, actual cost, important factors. Then we have budget completion, which is going to be cost baseline, and EAC is what is the cost forecast. It can be high or it can be low. I'll take to next screen. What is BAC? It's budgeted completion. I put this here to make you understand. When you read it second time, you'll get more clarity. It's what the total cost or total estimated budget for the project. And planned is, in this particular BAC, what is the planned value to be achieved? I will show in S curve. Yeah, here is S curve. This is called S curve, and it is from the PMBOK 6th edition book. Here, the project is explained something like this is the timeline of doing the project, and this is the cumulative cost going to be incurred for the project. So timeline and the cost incurred. So you will have releases 1, 2, 3, 5. It's keep going on to be release or iteration, what you call it, right? That happens. And if you see a center line, a line goes here and ends here. It's BAC. If you remember it well, I said it is a cost baseline. It's a actual we thought that is a planned value. That's why they call it as PV. The center line is called PV. That's cost baseline. And if you see something here down, it is earned value, EV. EV is how much the team has done so far. This is work completed. So work completed, that's earned value. That's what you have EV, right? It's cost baseline, work completed. Two things are there. And we have one more line which talks about actual costs. You can also say as money spent. So if you understand well, we have three lines. One is setter line, cost baseline. One is work completed, that is earned value. Other one is money spent for it. Money spent to complete this work. Money spent to complete this work. Now you have to watch out the line in the center here, and this line talks about today. As of today, in this project, where we stand. I'll reiterate the diagram again. The bottom x-axis talks about the timeline of the project, starting with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how many months, how many weeks, it's up to us. On the left, it talks about $100, $200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700. It goes on, the dollar value, the cumulative value. Now we are planned it. We put a plan of a project. A project should start something like this: release 1, release 2, release 3, release 4, release 5. When we complete the project, it will be the total overall cost of the project, which we thought that is planned. And as per today, maybe 6 months of the project, I'm just putting, we are middle of somewhere. Okay, let's say it's 6 months of the project. In the 6 months of the project, you're re-looking yourself, how you are performing. 6 months, this is 6th month of the project. And now, in this timeline, we should be here. When you see we should, there's a point in the center. And we should be here. When I say should, the work should have happened this way. If, for example, if I say here, if it's a bridge construction, I should have completed 12 pillars. But actually, team, how much I did? Our line is here. So planned is 12 pillars, but the team has completed, let me say, 10 pillars. Right? It should have been 12, but unfortunately, the team has done only 10. Okay, so there is a gap here. It should have been 12, but we have done only 10. There is 2 pillars in the gap. We didn't complete it. Maybe some reason of natural calamities happened, or the resource not work really well. The material quality was not good. Some other reason it is not happening. So this is a real project happens. We think something on something, and it may vary. The variance will be there. As a manager, we are responsible to fill up this variance. That's why we are learning this process. Now, when we do this, work completed is only 10, but the planned is a 12. Now we have to see how much you spend for that, right? See, this is planned as 12, you did 10, for which you have paid some money, isn't it? For these 10 pillars, the salary would have been paid, material would have been procured, vendor part would have happened, lot to happen. Now, what is that money spent for it? The money spent for it could be, let's say, Out of total $1,355, let's say we spend $400. Okay, so now what's happening here is the money spent is higher. The money spent is higher. Money spent is worth of, let me say, 16 pillars worth of money has been spent. I'm just putting in a pillars to easy understanding. So what's happening is we have planned to do 12 pillars for the bridge construction, but done 10 pillars. But actually money spent is higher than that. We spend money, nearly 16 pillars worth of money has been spent. So this is a current situation. Eric, you are getting something here. You are able to observe.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying here.
Okay, if you want, I can explain certain point which you got stuck. If not,
No, it's not so much getting stuck. It's just
okay, keep going on.
I'm gonna have to go through it a couple of times to make sure I really understand.
Fine. Okay, if you really don't understand, let me know. Yes, sure.
Oh
If you
yeah,
really could,
I'll get you in the WhatsApp group for sure.
Okay. I will keep going on. You can stop me if you feel really uncomfortable. Okay. So yeah, so we have 10 pillars and we done 10 pillars of work. Now what's happening is there is a variance here. When I say variance, the work should have completed is 12, but we did only 10, but the money spent is worth of 16 pillars. Now, when we work in this fashion, what will happen is the work will not get completed on what the timeline and the cost what we thought. So what will happen is the cost may shoot up high. If you see here, the cost should have come this line, that is BAC, that is for the cost baseline which we thought. But with the way we are working, the cost could go more than what we thought. So initially we saw a budget of, we thought a budget of 1,355. I'm just putting a number, dollars. But the way a team is working, it may not end up here. It may go and end here. It could be of 2,000. Now question is, how do you know it's 2,000? For that only we do some calculation. Now we know that the three lines are important: planned, earned, actual cost. If we travel in a planned track of the same road, we will reach this destination. But we are not traveling that way. We are traveling very bit slow here. Even though we travel slow here, we're burning fuel very high. That is on, we're spending huge money. Even though work is happening very less, the money spent is very high. And this high going to not help us to solve and complete within that budget given. It can go beyond that budget. And that beyond that budget is called EAC. EAC is nothing but estimate at completion. BAC means budget at completion. So it goes to EAC very high level and stops here. Now, what's happening is when this is a situation and they're asking you to tell you today, there is a 6th month, what will be the forecast? Where you think the project will go? How do the project will get completed? As a manager, we are responsible to do this forecasting and we have to make a calculation effectively. How to do it? Let's go. I'll show you one more diagram, which I think a little more clarity. We have a duration here, 1, 2, 3, it could be of months, it could be of iteration. And you have a line in the blue colored, and the blue colored says the work should start something like this: in January, in March, in April, in May, in June, in July. If you see in April, or in June, $16,000 worth of work to be completed. This is the plan. Blue says, but the team has done how much? Bit lesser than that. Instead of doing 16,000, they did only $15,000 worth of work, right? So if you see the line here, it should be 16,000, whereas the team had done 15,000. That's what the point. Green is about earned value, how much completed. Even though we have completed only $15,000 worth of work, for which money spent, red color talks about money spent, the salary given, the material procured, and that stands a bit lower. So we are safe in the sense for $15,000 worth of work, we have spent $12,000. Okay, so the expectation is $16,000 worth of work. Team did is less than that, $14,000 worth of work, whereas the money spent is $12,000 worth. So this is how it happened. Now there is a variance here. Now you will start seeing how things will proceed further on. And this is a day where we are. We are in the month of July. If you see here, all the three dots are here. So it is a July month. In the month of July, we are looking ourselves, where are we? If you see, the blue talks about planned value. As per planned value, I'll put a proper line. As per planned value, in the month of July, we should be where? We should be here. Okay. But the team started working really well. When I say really well, if you see the earned value, actually expectation is only $16,000 or $18,000. But the team did a fantastic job and they went up to $21,000 worth of work. They completed more work. Whereas the money spent for it, very less, 15,000. So I feel this team and this project is really good. The team is doing a great job with a lesser money, more than what is expected. So we can expect this work and this particular the way of working can go a little better, and it can go even like this and complete the work there itself. Instead of waiting up to the end of the project here, it will complete here. So point we want to make here is it's something like we have three lines, which is called as earned value, planned value. I'll put it here. The blue one is planned value, what we thought, and the green one is earned value going to be, and next one is again actual cost. These three are very important in earned value management. We are in EVM. EVM talks about earned value management. In that, these three are important, and this will help us to calculate the estimation. If you see here, this is called budget at completion, or you can say it's cost baseline. This is how it is. It is the value is. But if you go in earned value cycle, it can go to the estimation, which is called as EAC, estimation at completion, right? Estimation completion. What it means is the work, if it goes in this direction, it will go to this particular budget. It can be lesser or it can be higher. So point is you will have plan value, earn value, actual cost, and there is something called BAC, budget at completion, and EAC, estimation at completion, right? Now that saying, we'll move further on. There are a set of formulas. I would expect as the team to read the formula once, not immediately after you start reading the books. Look at the formulas to understand how this is going to work out. How it's going to work out in the sense, we have something called variance, cost variance, schedule variance. You have to see what is the variance here. If you see the gap here, and this gap is called variance. Only when you know the variance, you will be able to make a calculation perfectly to tell that how we planned, how are we performing. Based on the only performance, you are able to forecast. The way we progress can be decided. Let's see. I have a few more formula explanations here. I'm not going to put it now because you need to learn what this formula is all about. Then only you can calculate it. I'm going to show an example to you so that you will calculate the formula really well. How to do it? Okay. When you read this question, your current project is something like $8 lakh, or it goes on like this. $8 lakh this is nothing but a BAC. This is a BAC, budget at completion, right? And it's a software development effort with the two teams of programmers that will work for 6 months and a total of 10,000 hours. The project overall timeline is 6 months. They plan to do it in 6 months of timeline. Okay, that's the overall timeline. According to the project schedule, your team should is a very important keyword, should be done with 38% of the work. Okay, Whenever you see the word should, it means it is nothing but planned value. When you see the word should, it means it's a planned value. The team has planned to complete 38% of work. 38% of what? Overall value. This is the overall project value. In this overall value, team planned to complete 38%. Now, when you find the project in currently means it's something, again a keyword, currently 40%. When you say currently, the team has so far done, that is earned value. So should is planned value and currently is going to be earned value. You have spent 50%. Here again, the keyword is spent. You spent means money went out. When you say money went out, that's going to be of actual cost. Makes good. Now they're asking you to calculate the numbers as simple. So what we're going to do here, we're going to have something like the overall budget is here, and you know the project timeline is 6 months. They're asking three values are given it here. They're given it here as, first one is should. Should means planned value. 38% of work should have been completed. Let me put a small calculation. 38% here, how much it will come? You have to make 8 lakh, right? 8 lakh into 38 divided by 100. So you will get a value as it's going to be $3,04,000, right? The planned teamwork should have happened this much. Right. Then do okay. So I'm just putting an example here. It should be planned value is, this is a planned value should be, should. Currently team would be 40% of 8 lakhs completed. 40% of 8 lakh should be some amount coming up here. And earned value goes on 40% and spent is 50%. 50% of for 8 lakhs is going to be 4 lakhs. It will be, you have 4 lakhs as a amount here. If I say it will become, okay, this will be the actual cost. Now you have planned, you have actual, you have earned value. The BAC is going to be the amount of what we see there. The amount is going to be 8. All right. So you have the BAC, you have the planned, you will have the earned, you will have the actual. Now they start identifying the variance. The variance goes like this. Before I do that, let me put the calculation. 8 into 40%. So how much is 40%? Let's put a small math to understand how to do the 40%. So you'll make a calculation. In exam, you will get a calculator, system calculator to do the calculation. Maybe 3,20,000, right? So it's going to be 3,20,000, and that's going to help you here. I know it's going to be slightly tricky as you see the first time. So you're going to have a planned. The planned is 3,04,000 should have been completed, but team has done a good job. They completed 40%. Expected is 38%, but team has done 40%. So it's a very efficient team. But the money spent is 4 lakh. So they spent a little more extra money. See, for 3,04,000 worth of work, team spent 4 lakh. Also, team completed 3,20,000 worth of work. Now they're asking you what is a variance. When you do variance, there's a formula for that. It talks about schedule variance, which will talk about earned value minus planned value. So it will become earned value is how much? 320 minus planned will become 3 lakh 4 is going to be 16. Is going to be 16, right? Right. That's how it is. So there is a variation of $16,000. What we thought is 38, but they did a 40%. So we are performing really well. We are going ahead. We are going good in speed. When schedule variance in positive, it shows us we are ahead of schedule. When you do the cost variance goes up. The formula goes earn value minus actual cost, which will become earn value is 3,20,000 minus actual cost is of 4 lakh, right? So what will happen is we are running a minus 80K. Okay, so we are in minus. Why it is minus? 3,20,000 minus 4 lakh is going to be minus. So it means we are running over on the cost. It is message here is for completing 3,20,000 worth of work, I'm spending higher money. So that's why it shows minus. It means over budget. If we see in positive here, it is ahead of schedule. If you see negative here, we are behind of schedule. Whereas when you go in cost, if you see negative, it is called over budget. When it is positive, it's called under budget, right? Now, based on that, you can make some decisions. What I do is I made all these calculations for you, and that will have an image like this. If I go, you'll see an image like this, right? Right. The same thing calculation happens here. If you see, you will start seeing something. The budgeted completion here. You will have the planned value here. You will have the earn value here, and we have 50%, which is the actual cost. This is the actual calculation. Now we started finding the variance. The variance talks about schedule variance. The variance is the thought is 38, but the team has delivered 3,20,000, which is in a good shape. We are in a good shape. That is, we are ahead of schedule. We are delivering extra, more than what is asked for. Whereas when it comes to cost, we are not really in a good place where we are shooting high. We are shooting high on the cost factors, right? And it is called variation. They use a schedule performance index. It's something called SPI, which talks about schedule performance index. It talks about something, when you do the SPI calculation, there is a formula. Anyhow, when you read through that, you'll understand it. It talks about earn value divided by plan value, which will give us 1.05 index or ratio. What it means is, if I give you $1, the team will give me back 1.05. It means when I give $1 to the team is giving me back 1.05, which is a really good sign. That is, if I give the team $1, it's giving me $1.05 back. That is the we are ahead of schedule. We're delivering more. If the team is asked to put 5 pillars for the bridge construction, team has done 7 pillars. It means the team is really doing a fantastic job. For doing that, the money is spent very high. If you look at that in the money facts perspective, if I give you $1, the team is giving me 0.8 cents, which is actually a risky factor. The money is spending very high. They're spending very high. Of course, the work is going well, but the money spent is very high. So in this scenario, if I give $1, the team is giving 0.80 cents. It means you're over budget. You're shooting high, right? For the worth of work that's the money to be spent, but you're spending high. Now the main role of a manager comes in. As a manager, what do? You have to make some decisions. We have some decisions here. Asking the project is ahead of schedule. I'll tell yes, ahead of schedule. The project is behind schedule. No. You should consider crashing the schedule. Okay, if Eric is following up, Eric, will you be able to help here? I know it's very tough apart. You want to try?
Let's see.
Okay. I know it's a bit tough area. Just give an attempt by reading the last few lines. They're asking some questions. Try to address it if possible. If you understand the earn value calculation.
So the project is ahead of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I mean, I know that they haven't checked, but I don't think the project is over budget.
Ah, amazing! You got it. Mm-hmm.
And I don't think at this point either you need to find a way to cut costs, because if you're ahead on the project, you should be.
Fantastic. Okay. Now, when you say, I believe if I heard well, you say that we have to find a way to cut costs. Is it correct?
I mean, I don't think you need to. I guess maybe you should, but I don't think you need to at this point.
Okay. You think that because we are doing well at the work, I mean, we are delivering higher than what is asked for?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, great assumption there. But at the same time, the too much of expenditure is also trouble for us. So the option is going like this. They're giving the project is over budget. They're spending higher money. They're asking you should find a way to cut the cost. Yes, you can. How can we cut the cost is as the work is get completed higher, we can release some of the resources. So imagine instead of completing 16 pillars for the bridge construction, the team has done 18 pillars. Now, can I rethink of releasing some of the resources so that the cost can go down? Possible?
Repeat the question for me.
So imagine, see now the SPI says that we are delivering really well. When I say really delivery well, let me take the example of bridge construction. The expected is 16 pillars should have been completed. But the team has done a fantastic job and they deliver you 18 pillars for the bridge construction. But for the 18 pillars, the money spent is very high. Now they're asking you, can you cut the cost? So being in a position of a manager, you will think that, okay, the team I asked to do 16 pillars, but the team has done 18 pillars. Now the money is running high. So can I think of cutting cost by releasing some of the resources? Because we are done with 2 more extra pillars than what is asked for. Can we think in that dimension?
Yeah, we can.
You can, right? Yeah, good, cool. Super, Barik, you got it. I'm happy that you're able to catch it up. Okay, let's move on. Okay, I have a few more calculation. I'm not sure, Eric, you are in a form to calculate it now, but I'll show you now what it is. So it'll help you. It's a 9 months into a project. The total budget of the project is some 42 lakhs here given over. You have spent already some amount of money and you got a CPI of 0.875. CPI is cost performance index. They're asking you to make a calculation based on earn value analysis, earn value formula for forecasting. This is a major rule. How to do it? Now you have a EAC. They're asking to make a calculation for EAC. We have a formula for EAC which goes by, it will go by BAC by CPI as a formula. So what's the answer will come is, if you say here the BAC is 42. So it's going to be 42 divided by, what's the CPI? CPI is 0.875. What is 0.875? If I give you $1, the team is giving me 0.875 worth of value. When that's the case, if in this speed, if we progress, the budget will not be 42 lakhs, it will be different value. Let's see what's the value. If it is 42 divided by 0.875, it's going to give 48, right? It's going to be 48. I'm trying to make things clear here, like, okay, we thought 42 lakhs is the budget, but the team is performing in a way, if I give $1, they're giving me back only 0.875. In this way, if the team works, the project will not end in 42 lakhs dollars. It will end in 48. It means we have to spend more. It means we are over budget. But however it is, as a manager, you're expected to forecast, tell that what will be the scenario in future, right? And EAC is nothing but estimate at completion. Estimate to complete is it's estimate to complete is there is there's a cost which can happen from the actual costing factor. That is the point how much we have spent from there to the actual estimation. Anyhow, you can read this formula when you go over. For now, I'm giving a highlight of it, what it is. And there is something called variance at completion. The variance is something like this. We thought it is 42 lakhs is a value, but it can become 48. So the variance is going to be 6 lakhs. 6 lakhs is the variance which has to come here. Now there is a question coming up. They're asking, will the project be over or under budget when it is complete? And we have to say it is going to be over budget, because instead of 42, it's going to become 48. That's an over budgeting concept. Okay, these are the calculations which come in sometimes in the examination, not all the time. But as a manager, we are liable to understand what is earned value management and how much we are performing, how we are performing. That's being discussed. What I do, I'll take you to next screen to something called this is the last calculation for you. I won't bug you much on this. So there is something called TCPI. TCPI means to complete performance index. So far, we made all this calculation to get an idea of how the team should perform in future. See, as a manager or as a leader, we're going to forecast how the work is going to move on. When you say how the work is going to move on, you also should say that how the team should perform. Okay, the team is saying that till yesterday I'm sick, I'm not well. Then you have to tell that from tomorrow on, do exercise, do this, have a good healthy food, sleep well. To tell that, you should have some plans with you. So how to do that? That's called TCPI, to complete performance index. How we calculate is, they calculate something like this. They first see the remaining work divided by remaining cost. Remaining work, and you'll go by remaining cost. So when you say remaining work, the overall work minus work completed, that is earned value, overall work minus actual cost, the money spent. This is work completed, this is work spent. If you deduct it from the overall, you will get the remaining work divided by remaining cost. When you divide it, you get the calculation of 0.92. Now on, the team should maintain the speed of 0.92. Whenever someone give you $1, the team should give them back 0.92 as a value. If you give that, the team can complete the project within the budget mentioned. That's what they're mentioning here. So if I give $1, the team should give 0.92. It is a safer side. It's not that much hard because you're going to perform less than what is asked for. And what do you mean by TCPI is, it is talking about to complete this project, what should be the performance index? I'll give an example for this clearly. A layman level example talks about, say, I'm driving a car from one city to another city. So when I look at my watch and look at the distance I have to travel, it look like I need to go a little more higher speed, or I can go relaxed speed. So that identification of what should be the speed of my car to reach the destination on the particular time is called TCPI. So once you see the TCPI number, you put the acceleration of a car to go faster or to go better speed. And this is calculated by remaining work divided by remaining cost. That's good for the calculation. Of course, this calculation is slightly dry because it's a little more with the formula oriented. Okay, I have a question here. If Eric could give a shot, give a try, I can help you, Eric.
Okay.
Just read through the first paragraph. Take an understanding. I'll guide you.
Okay. Okay, I read through everything.
Sorry, Eric, you're writing it?
I read through all of it.
Okay, fantastic. So what is the idea coming up?
So they want to know what the current value is.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we'd have to break it down for each phase. You have to get the value for each phase, wouldn't you?
Fantastic. You are on the right track.
So
The
I guess for
project
that,
has, yeah, please go ahead.
yeah, it's got 4 phases.
Mm-hmm.
Each phase is supposed to take a month to complete.
Yeah.
So we're already behind schedule.
Really? Okay. So, okay.
Because it says we're at the end of 3 months, and at the end of the 3 months, the phase is only 50% complete.
Okay, they're just asking for, first we'll understand what is the overall budget of the project. What is the overall budget of the project?
For the whole thing, 40,000.
Wow, you rocked it, man. You got it. You are rock on that. Okay, great. So let's say 40,000 because it goes on 4 phases. Each phase 10,000. So it became 40,000 as a term called as BAC, budgeted completion. Okay. Now, what is the ask here is they're asking for cost variance. I'll tell you what's the formula for cost variance. It may help you. What it means is earned value minus actual cost. That's what written here. EV means earned value. AC means actual cost. Okay, cool. You are good here. What we'll do is we'll just calculate only one thing, then we'll move on. Help me to understand what is earned value in this question. What is the value of earned value? EV.
I guess the work that's been completed to this point.
Amazing. You are awesome on that. Okay. How do you calculate it now in the question?
Well, and this is the part where I get hung up.
Okay, I will help you here.
I guess it would be.
You have a complete here. You have a complete here. Let's say there's 4 phases. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4.
Phase 3, phase 4.
Right. Phase 1 completed. Phase 2 completed. Phase 3, 50% completed. So can we say 10, and again 50%. So it's going to be $25,000 worth of work has been completed. Can we say that?
25? Yeah. Yeah. Because each phase is 10,000. Yeah, 10,000, 20,000. Yeah, 25,000.
Yeah, that is completed. Now we also have to see what is the money spent for it. That is actual cost.
So yeah, so that's gonna be 31,000.
Ooh. Eric is rocking today. Valentine's Day special. Okay.
That's good, Eric. You got it. You got it. Really got it. So now just simple. You put this formula value here, you get a calculation. 25 minus 31 going to be minus 6. That's the cost variance. Is it better now?
Yeah.
You got it. You got it. Now I'll show you real answers. You'll get more happy to see that. Okay, here you go. This is your answer. Eric got the answer. That's right. You got it. Cool. Okay. Yeah, you got it. But they say the project is over budget. Whenever I see minus sign, it means, guys, you're not doing good job. You are spending too much. My pocket is burning. My wallet is burning. Right? That's what's happening. Now, what I want to convey here is the project talks about, I'm coming back. Yeah. The project talks about something like it has 4 phases. In that we have come to the phase of, I talked about this is earn value and this is the actual cost. When you do the calculation based on the formulas, for now it's new for you. Maybe you read the book, you will get the formula clearly again. When you apply the formulas just against the earn value and plan value and actual cost, you're going to get the answers. As simple, right? That's how it is. So that's saying you're going to have what's answers. Answers going to be, yep, these are the answers. You can look it out once. As you relook at the video, you will come to understand that there is something called plan value. You know how much you planned, earned for the plan, how much you completed. For the completion, how much you spent. See, $25,000 worth of work is completed, but your money spent is very high, which is not good for the team. So the cost is running a bit higher. We have to be careful enough. Schedule, that's also minus. It means I should have completed $30,000 worth of work, but the team is behind that. I asked you to do 30,000, but the team had done only 25,000. The project is behind status, behind schedule. It is a bit dangerous. The same thing which is given in the index, CPI, SPI. So if you see both are less than 1, anything less than 1 is slightly dangerous. We are not running in a track. If I give you $1, the team is giving only 0.80 cents or 0.83 cents, which is not good. So that's being explained here. So that's about EVM. Good. We understood the EVM. Amazing. Great. Shall we try a couple of questions before we say we are done with the cost management? I know it's a bigger question.
I mean, if you really want me to. Yeah.
Okay. I know it's a big question. Okay. You want to help or we'll read through that? How do you feel?
I'll try to. I can try to answer at least the first one.
Yeah, give a try. We're going to have only 4 to 5 questions. Just give a try. I can help you.
The finance department requires that you keep them updated on the cost being spent on the capital project you're leading. You're required to submit a funding plan and monthly forecasts are necessary so that any changes to the funding plan can be requested in advance and evaluated. Exceeding the budget limit is unacceptable as it will impact the stock value. Yes, successfully implement the processes and practice to anticipate funding changes, and you evaluate them to minimize problems and increase the efficient use of funds. You have employed a variety of reporting and analysis techniques to meet the finance department's requirements. One of them is EAC, which is a periodic evaluation of
I will tell what is EAC.
Okay. Yeah, the estimated at completion.
So, of the 4, let's see which choice can map it. The cost of work completed may not be because it's estimate. The value of work performed.
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be C.
Ah, you're close to that. Good. Okay, good, Eric. You have a good day today. Let's anyway wait and see the answer. Let's not be urgent. We'll see that.
Okay.
Meantime, we'll go with the second question, and this is going to be calculation. And if you remember the formula, you'll get the answer immediately. If not,
Earned value, actual cost, and planned value. What is the cost variance? Cost variance is equal to the estimated value minus the actual cost. So we're looking at D.
yeah, 350 minus 400. There, you got it. Perfect. I think we got both the answers correct. Let me see that. Oh yeah, that's right. Perfectly. Cool. You're good on it, Eric. So last few questions before we close up the session.
During which project management process group are budget forecasts created? Budget forecasts would probably be created in planning.
Now, you have to look at this word. When you see forecasting, when you see the forecast can happen only when you know what happened in the current. Only when you know what happened in the execution, I'll take it. When it happened in the execution, you can forecast in monitoring, right? So as per understanding, forecast can happen only when you know what happened, and forecast could happen in monitor and control. Make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Try the next one.
What type of cost is team training?
Going to be a tough question for you. Imagine your corporate is training you in Agile, Scrum, and that money will fall into project or some other expenses.
My inclination is to go with C, indirect.
I'll put the example again. If your company, your organization is spending you $1,000 for your PMP course, when they spend $1,000, you will charge against project. I mean, charge against the project or charge against overhead. You have to charge against project because this project is spending you $1,000 for a PMP, so it will fall under direct expenses. The company is spending directly money on you directly for the benefit of the project. So from the overall project, they'll spend some dollars on your expenses of getting trained. That's again direct expenses, direct cost. Okay. So we'll move to the next one.
Okay. Project setup.
I'll tell you setup cost. For example, if there is a manufacturing unit where they set up the building for doing some manufacture part. So
yeah. Okay. So would it be overhead costs?
Okay, it's slightly tougher for you here because it's going to be fixed cost. Why? Because even though n number of material you manufacture in that unit, the cost first you did for that setup cost going to be same, right? The cost will not change by the number of people coming in.
Okay. I see what, okay.
Okay, even though a number of cars getting manufactured in the company, the first setup cost going to be same. So that's going to be setup cost. So it's going to be fixed cost.
Okay.
I know it's a tough question. Okay, give a
Yeah.
last question for the day. Mhm.
The quality efforts on the project have gone through some changes during the first 4 months of the project. 2 processes in particular have undergone extensive change. The customer is happy with the work to date, but has heard that the competition is working on a similar product. The team has been asked to analyze and create options for the customer. Value analysis is performed to get well, okay. So anytime I hear the word value,
Mhm.
or anytime I'm trying to present anything about value,
Yeah,
I'm usually doing to my
you're
boss.
close.
So I'm gonna say it's to get management to buy into the project.
Management to buy into the project. Okay, it looks a bit closer, but there is a perfect answer in this. Of course, what you said is also closer to the answer, but the answer it will be very close. There is one more answer in this four choices. Very close. See, whenever you see the word value analysis, whenever you see something value analysis, it means you are trying to give something best with a lesser amount you spend.
So it'd be more value from the cost analysis.
It's called value engineering. If you remember in scope management, we spoke about value engineering. Value engineering is the same work can be done in lesser cost with a high quality.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So it would go to the answer D, a less
Yeah.
costly way of doing the same work. Same work, same material, but lesser cost. That's called value engineering, where they increase the performance of the organization by reducing the cost. That's why now layoff happening, right? Many companies throwing the resource out, telling that if we don't want a resource, we'll automate the software. We bring a software automation, and we can make work happen at lesser cost. That's what they talk about. Cool. So that's a good day. I think you learned something good today, right?
Well, yeah, maybe one thing.
I know a bit harder and a bigger subject because cost management is always a bit tricky in the sense it has calculations. So I'll just recap it, whatever we learned. It will be good for you to recall in 5 minutes, then we'll move on. So what we learned is we understood cost management talks about the budgeting factor of the project, and we understood in agile it's going to be of we won't plan everything very much ahead. We get closer and we make a small chunk of estimations, and we want to talk about estimations, budgeting of the cost and cost control. And this is a place we had a lot of formulas worked out. And I was spending some time here to make you understand WBS is a work breakdown structure that becomes a package, and a package can be given to the activity can be the lowest level of work where the team will do, and when you come to activity you make a estimation for the cost, schedule, and resources. This we understood. Then we made a plan cost estimation. In plan we did something of how the project cost will be done, how the estimation will be done, how the management will be done, how the control will happen. This we discussed, we written down, and that creates a cost management plan. After that, we went to estimate cost. In estimate cost, we understood we're going to make an approximation. That is an approximation of how much we need. We can't say perfection, it's only approximation. So for approximation, you took the baseline, you took the cost management plan, you took the schedule, resource, and you made this four methodologies: analogous, parametric, bottom up, 3 point. And also we talked elaborately about reserve analysis, where we have contingency reserve and management reserve. We also talk about cost of quality, a quality for which we how much money is spent. This is all included into estimation. So that will give you cost estimates with the basis of estimates. On what basis you made the estimation. Then also we understood something on project schedule. And we understood on estimate cost, where we have three variety: ROM, rough order of magnitude, and definitive estimate. Then we know there's a four methodology, understood that. Then we went to determining the budget. In determining budget, the key word to know is aggregation. You're going to aggregate it. How you aggregate it? There is something called aggregation, cost aggregation tool. The cost aggregation tool. What this tool does do is, we started doing like this. We took an activity, we grouped into packages, packages into control account into project estimates. Nothing but is grouping, accumulation. And then we have contingency reserve. I explained it, called as reserve, which known risk, which you're going to explain to the stakeholder and get the money for it. And that will become a cost baseline. On the top of baseline, we have something called management reserve, which will be given by the performing organization on an emergency or unknown scenario happening in the project. But however, the client will communicate only cost baseline. Then we move to the funding requirements, in what frequency they release the fund. And we also understood what is BAC, which is budget at completion. We also understood there is something called time on the x-axis and the cost on the y-axis. And there will be an internal line, which is a curve, which is nothing but planned value. Then we move on to the control cost. In control cost, we understood something called monitoring the status of the project, and you are expected to have a forecast about it. How to do? We went inside. We understood there is a baseline, there is the data. Baseline talks about what we thought, our data talks about what we are doing. So both you compare, that becomes a variance. When you know the variance, you will know how to calculate Tcpi, nothing but to complete performance index. What the meaning is? This tells what should be my car speed to reach the destination, what speed I have to run to reach my destination, what speed my project should work so that it will complete within the budget. So that is called cost forecasting. As a manager, we are liable to forecast things ahead. That's why the leadership team is important. And how we do leadership, for which we have something called EVM, Earn Value Management. How EVM works? EVM use certain methodologies called as PV, EV, AC, planned value, earned value, actual cost. How they do it? I was showing a pictorial representation, S curve. The center line talks about the planned value. This is we thought should happen. But actually what happened, there is something called earned value, which nothing but really it happened. And the money spent for it is going to be something like this. In today, if we are in this variation, and if this continues, we can't complete in BAC. That will become EAC. That is nothing but estimate at completion. But how to do that? We had this other list of formulas to calculate it. Cost variance, schedule variance, written formula here. How to implement the formula? We went to a question. In the question, we understood how to implement the formula and then get the answers. The purpose of getting the formula answer here is to see the decision making. Do I need to consider the budget? Do I need to consider the timeline? A manager is responsible for forecasting and decision making, and that will happen with the data. And that's what you're seeing in the screen. And we got the data and started making a decision. When I do that, I explain something little more on another equation to show how the formula works. And also I showed something called Tcpi, that is to complete performance index. What should be the speed of the car while you want to reach the destination? And then we move to a form calculation where Eric helped to resolve this by showing some of the answers for cost variance, schedule variance. We understood how it works. And that helped us to get the answers. After which we went to the questions. That's it. That's it for the day. Eric, how things are at your side?
I'm gonna go take some Advil.
Sorry?
I'm gonna take some headache medication because this definitely racked my brain. I don't do well with a lot of.
Okay, a lot of math troubled you.
Yeah.
Okay. For your happiness, I'll tell you this is the last subject which is heavy. That's it.
Here on, it's all going to be lightweight subjects.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the only
Okay, great.
So this is the only, we have 3 heavyweights. Out of 3 heavyweights, we are done with the third one. So here on, it's going to be a lightweights from tomorrow or day after tomorrow. So we'll start working out, right? So that's it.
All
And
right.
yeah, we'll close for the day, and I'll communicate the next timeline when we are going to meet. Probably it will be on your Saturday and Sunday, which will be of the usual timeline. And by the way, Eric, on Saturday, on your evening, will it work on what time better for you?
Hold on 1 second. Let me check.
Yeah, you are in ET, is that right?
Yeah, I'm in South Florida, so I'm on Eastern time.
Okay. Okay, on Saturday and Sunday, we'll fix a time. So we'll go by that.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanna do something for the later afternoon or the evening on Saturday, and that works for you, that would work for me.
Yeah. Or I know actual plan we started last week by Saturday morning with it. So how is it in the morning for you? 8:30 a.m. Will it work to start?
8:30 is a little early for me because of the baby.
Okay.
So I might need to start it. You mean like 8:30 your time or 8:30 Eastern time?
I'm just looking at. We'll do one thing. We'll go with the WhatsApp so that Steve will also have his time, right? We will decide
Perfect.
that and we'll take it on. I know
Perfect.
now you need some rest. You go ahead, take some rest.
Yeah.
I don't want to trouble you more. Fine. Anyway, thanks, Eric.
I'm
Thanks
gonna go and kiss my wife.
Happy Valentine's Day. Enjoy.
Thanks. You too.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. We'll catch up again. Thanks for your time.
All right. Talk to you on WhatsApp. All right. Bye bye.
Yeah, sure. We'll catch up. Yeah, bye-bye.